promoting businesses and organizations to help them reach their full potential. Lighten the path to the success of your business. Enhancing the lives of our listeners by talking about things that matters most. Helping you to shine your light emotionally, mentally, spiritually, socially, and physically. Spreading positive vibes. You've got it locked and you're listening to Light Vibrations, brought to you by Lyte Communications right here on CBN Radio 90.9 FM. And now your host and our director, Natasha Letson.
Hello, you've got it locked and you're listening to Light Vibrations here, chilling with me, Tasha T. And today my guest is Tracey. Welcome to the program, Tracey.
Good day. It's nice to be here.
Awesome. Thank you. You know, Light Vibrations is all about empowering, enlightening, and edifying. What's on your mind today, Tracey?
Well, I kind of just wanted to have a chat about relationships. Where we know that relationships in the islands are kind of different from relationships in the bigger cities, you know, because let's face facts, everybody always all up in your business. Because the place is like 2x4, it's a real small place, you know. So, you know, you meet people in the supermarket, at church, you know, wherever you go, you know, you could hail somebody, you know somebody. And so I just kind of wanted to talk about relationships, and not so much for my age group, more the younger set, you know, like those anywhere from 30 down, you know, to about 15 or so. I just had some kind of concerns about, you know, you're just beginning to get into this whole relationship thing. You're beginning to get to know your body, beginning to get to know yourself, beginning to get to know your mind, what you want out of life, your future, and that kind of stuff. And I've seen so much young people end up really mentally stressed, and sometimes they struggle to get out of that stress because of issues with relationships. And I wish that somebody had this talk with me when I was that age. It might have prevented a lot of hardships, and I might have thought differently as I got older, you know. And the mistakes and the decisions that I've made, I may have not have made them if we have had this, you know, this chat about relationships with our young people. Now, young people are kind of set in their ways when they want to do something. This is something that we know. There is the age gap difference where that young person will tell you, oh, you don't understand. That was in your time, you know. But I think that the dynamics of relationships are an age-old adage, where I've seen the drama in my mother's life. I've seen the drama in, you know, the next generation and now the future generation. And so, you know, just to have a chat about, you know, what can we do as women who are now, you know, a little bit more experienced, a little bit older, to advise, you know, those young ladies as to what we wish that we had been told when we were that age. And it kind of boils down to you loving yourself, and you can love yourself despite your situation. And that's something that I had to learn because I grew up in a family of abuse. But you can love yourself. Loving yourself ultimately has nothing to do with your environment. That's what I've learned. That you can love yourself. You can even have an issue with your weight. You can have an issue with your face. You can have an issue with anything, but you can still love yourself. And I've come to realize that once you love yourself, then the things that you do, say, how you act, and what you allow to happen to you will be different.
Well, thank you very much, Tracey. I love this topic because it's near and dear to my heart. I've always said, even coming up as a young woman, that I talk to my nieces, I talk to females, younger ladies than myself, and I try to assist, because I don't believe that you should have to experience everything in order to learn. Sometimes you can learn from somebody else's mistakes. Sometimes, you know, some people will tell you, oh, but you do this, but you do that, but I did that and I learned, and I'm trying to save you from the heartache that I may have experienced as a result of my own ignorance.
You know what they would say, Natasha? They would say, let me make my mistake, or it's my mistake to make, or I would learn from it once I make the mistake. But it's kind of rough for you to sit down and actually see them in that and know that it's something that you could have helped them with or prevented them. I find that we as a people, we don't buy into counseling. We don't buy into the whole support from a psychological standpoint. We would embrace, okay, you have diabetes, you have blood sugar, you have this, you take medications for that. But when you have a mental issue, there's nothing wrong with having a conversation with a counselor. I was recently diagnosed as sick, and the doctor sent me to a counselor. I could have gotten an attitude, what counselor she sent me to? People get sick every day and not going. But I'm happy that I went. It was a calm, non-judgmental environment for me to basically put my feelings on the table, to begin to go down the path of accepting my illness. And the same applies to young women, especially, let's say, okay, you make a mistake and now you're hurt. Then you're there struggling, and then you end up hurt again because you're hurt, you're looking for love, and because you're looking for love, you end up in the wrong arms again. Why do we have to do that? It could be a situation where, yes, you're hurt, but you should be able to rely on a source for comfort other than another man.
Definitely. And that, dark spiral is because we're not learning. We're not learning, and we're repeating.
We're also not talking.
And we're not talking. So
the older women are not sharing. There's no forum.
Let us share now. And
sometimes you have older women in your family who you can't talk to, but there are other women who you can. But there's no forum for you to.
That's true. And I love the thing that you said about the counseling, because I know when I had difficulty in my life, I had a counselor and a therapist.
Yes.
Because it was just too much to process, because at the end of the day, you still want to be like, I wanted to still be positive. I didn't want whatever I experienced to cloud who I was as a person. I didn't want to lose myself. I didn't want to shut off myself to the possibilities of love again and all of that. So counseling is good, and you take your time, you assess the situation, you look at it for what it is, you look at it for what you've done and what the other person may have done, how you could get better, and that is how you progress and move on, the things that you want.
And that is also how you prevent mistakes. That's how you prevent getting yourself into a space where you do it again and then you do it again. It is said that, okay, you have a teen who has a young pregnancy, and within a year she's pregnant again. Why? People would say, okay, she didn't learn from it the first time. But usually when you step down that path, you don't have the support that you need, and you find that you end back up in the same situation. So it's the same thing with emotional hurt. You may not have produced a baby from the event, but you're still deeply hurt by the event. And then because of that hurt now, you're vulnerable and you're not making the right decisions. You don't have a good support, and then you go down that path. I think that it's a situation where, you need to find a healthy way to deal with whatever hurt, whatever bad decisions. And that's the next thing too. My father used to feel that because he had done so much wrong that he could not be forgiven, or that he would never have been able to rise out of it. There's nothing that you can do. There's nothing that I can do. That is not forgivable. So you just need to forgive yourself. That's the first thing. Forgive yourself for whatever the mistake was, or the bad decision, or what happened. And, forgive yourself first. Love yourself. And look and actively seek out positive help.
You mentioned something there in passing that I want to piggyback on. You talk about, that, sometimes these people have access to this information, to this advice, to this sage advice. And, some of them are ignorant because they want to do what they want to do, or you're old, or I might go down the road and not get in the same trouble you get into. My life is not your life. And you have a bunch of ignorance that you have to combat, coupled with modern society of how they do things, how they date, how they get into these fly by night relationships.
You know what the worst part is? The worst part is that they stay in it. It's okay, you're hurt, the situation is bad, whether male or female. It's a destructive relationship, obviously. Usually only the person who's in it can see it, but everybody else knows it's a destructive relationship. And the problem is when people consistently decide and make that decision to stay in a destructive relationship. That's the problem I have. Sometimes it's that they don't have a place to go. Sometimes they have children involved. Whatever the decision is, you have to have an exit strategy. That's what I've learned. You can't just up and leave. most of the time, up and leaving is a problem because you end right back up there because you don't have the social support to leave. But that doesn't mean that you have to stay. It just means that you have to seek help to get an exit strategy. That especially if, let's say, the other party is a violent person and you genuinely fear for your life, you up and leaving, people tell you, well, just leave, just get out. It's not so simple because I've been there, I know it, I've seen my mother, I know it. What I'm saying is that it's not hopeless either. You can plan their services within the government, family support network. Big shout out to family support network. Twice I have used the services to get out of bad situations, and twice they have shown. So they guide you through. There are counselors there. There are people who have your back, who will protect you, who will go to court with you. Just use the services that are available. The services are there. It's just that you have to have an open mind that you want to get out of that bad situation, that you love yourself enough to make an effort.
So Tracey, when as a parent do you start to talk to especially your girl children? I mean, not saying that you shouldn't speak to your boys, but the girls bring home the trouble. So to me, our conversation has to start with the females, because today the females, because of how loose we have become, it's causing kind of chaos in society. And the boys can't do it if the girls not allowing it. So we have to start with trying to get our girls back in check, get us back to being a little bit more modest and not as wild out there. So how do you start this conversation? When do you start the conversation? And how does that conversation sound?
Well, you open Pandora box, there, bubbles. I wish I had the kind of family support that I needed when I was going through my drama, because they know, but they don't want to get involved. Most people don't want to get involved because they don't want to be the cause of the breakup. But when you take that stance, you're basically allowing somebody to abuse your loved one because you're not saying anything, you're not doing anything. Then there are those people who go the extra and do too much. You understand? So they're all up in your business, they're running your life. So at some point you have to be guided by what that person wants you to do. And if you find that they're not loving themselves, they're self-destructive, they're not helping themselves, then as a family member, it's your time to step in with an intervention. And it could be a family meeting to talk about what's going on with this person or what's going on with that person, and what you think is the best approach for us to help them, because she get beat up last night and she got makeup to cover up the bruises. How are you going to sit down and watch somebody beat up on somebody that you love and you do nothing? You have to do something. So for me, my approach is, and I've told my children know this, I will speak to you first, and I would ask you what you want me to do. Do you want my support? Do you want me to say anything? I would let you lead for a while. But if, in my opinion, if it's an emotional damage to the point where I could see you crying all night and can't sleep and not functioning, or worse, if there's hitting or some physical abuse involved, I am stepping in. I am going to talk to you first. And I'm going to tell you need to seek help, because obviously you're not managing this situation properly. This is not a healthy environment for you. And then if I find that you're not taking an active role, I will speak to the spouse, or I will speak to the significant other, because that's my right as your mother to go and speak to the person who's abusing you. And I ain't going alone either. And I'm the type of person, I will go with police. So I would suggest you don't hit nobody for me. You understand? Because I've seen it over, and I've seen it with my mom, I've seen it with other relatives. We take this, if the community, and so just because you come to the wedding and you support this union, when the union starts to go back, you're still supposed to maintain your support of this union. But as I said, a lot of people go over in all the courts. That's why capital punishment is ruled out in America, because people beat you not in love. But in the Caribbean, you're supposed to be corrected with the rod in love. You understand? So I'm going to go in a spirit of love to say, you know what? This relationship is destructive. Y'all need to get it together or separate. You understand? Because you can't just sit down and watch people beat up on who belong to you and you say nothing. There's a 40 men in the family, and this one tyrant from wherever he come from come beat up your sister, and you sit down and you say nothing. Oh, my sister didn't want me to say nothing. Really?
But what about those who hide the fact? Okay, you're speaking from a vantage that you seem like you have inside information into what's going on, but it's a lot of undercover abusive situations going on here within this small BVI that we live, where people are still afraid of being stigmatized. People are still, like you say, people just talk. This is talk to
Yes, yeah.
So it's like you don't want your business on the street.
Yes.
So you're trying to keep, if you get all this slap here or there, you might say, Lord, okay, let me hold it to myself, because number one, the type of person that you have, maybe that person is a violent person, and you don't want your family to get involved or to get hurt. You don't know how crazy the person might be. So it's all kind of things you're balancing, in a situation like that. What would you do?
Well, as I said, it's a tough situation to be in. I grew up in it, and I know and I understand in depth. But at the end of the day, I just said we have to have an exit strategy. So your strategy may not be to tell everybody your business, because the man might retaliate and say, oh, you're not talking the business. I don't tell you, shut up and blah, blah, blah. And a person can only hide for so long that they're being abused. You know that something is wrong because you will see it in their personality. They will change. They're not as happy. They're not smiling as much. They may have on extra makeup to cover up bruises. As I said, it's doctor, so you know. Somebody can say something that she got some fish last night, so she ain't in a good mood today. People at work usually know what's going on, because you do. No man is an island, and they tend to say something to somebody, some friend or something. It might get back to the family, whatever. The thing is, when it comes back to the family, just don't sit and do nothing. But at the same time, you can't just rush in to do something either. So that's why I'm saying it has to have an intervention that is planned. It has to be a planned intervention. And as I say, we are not psychologists in the family. My mother is a psychologist, my brother is a psychologist. We don't really know what to do in situations like these. But if you have an intervention that is planned, then you get all the powers that need to be in one space to discuss it. And say, because that person might not even be in that discussion. You understand? But you get, say, a counselor. You yourself as a mother or cousin or aunt or somebody, go to Family Support Network and say, my cousin is in this situation and I fear for her life, or she getting beat up and I'm not sure how to help her. And you just, to me, taking no action is inaction. It's bad action. You need to, we have, as you say, a whole set of people on the island that is involved, and it's very young to very old. You understand? It's no respect of families or person, very rich to very poor. It is going on in every level of society. But I think that if we have a forum to discuss it, I know that Gender Affairs has programs. They have a board that they show the amount of domestic deaths, not even abuse, because I'm sure that can be counted, but the deaths that occurred as a result of domestic abuse is over 50 over the last 10 years.
50?
Yeah, it's like you hear about it, one person. But when you actually look at the board and the names of those persons who we know died as a result of domestic violence, it's a lot.
Wow.
It's a lot. And that's those that end in death. What about those where you're not happy? I think that we deserve to be happy. Life throws so much at you that you just deserve happiness. And when you get into a relationship, you don't go into it because you know you're going to get beat up.
Sure.
You don't expect that. You understand?
Okay, so we're at the point where now you would have known about the abuse as a family member. However you come across the information from people at the office or whatever, you try to have an intervention with the person who is being abused. And to the abusee, they might be thinking, well, okay, he loved me, or yeah, he hit me, but I think I deserve that. Or she might be like, I scared, I can't leave because I scared. But for whatever reason, you try to have that intervention with that person, and that person stays. That person, they say, Mommy, no, I got this.
90% of the time they will stay.
What would you do then?
90% of the time you will stay. I have seen that. The excuse is, oh, I don't want to take the children out of their home. I don't want to worry about settling assets. Whatever the decision or the reason for the decision, 90% of the time they will stay. My opinion on that is that, okay, you choose to stay, because I can't force, anybody to leave. But if you choose to stay, I will support you in the staying until you get to the point where you're empowered to leave. So I would support you. So I would say, okay, Tash, how did last week go? What did he say? What did he do? Did he hit you last night? I would be that voice, that air for you to voice your feelings, rather than you just sitting down at work crying or going in the bathroom and wiping your face or whatever. You would know that you could text me, say, Tracey, meet me in the bathroom. You understand? And I would go and I say, what happened? And I would give you that opportunity to speak. And I would lovingly and gently say, well, you choose to stay, and I think it's a bad decision. Are you ready to leave now? So I can't force my opinion on a person, even though I know it might be best for them, but I wouldn't leave them alone either. You understand? I would be that voice. I would be that air. I would speak on your behalf. I would make the phone calls. I'll do the research. Because sometimes when you're there, your mind is not family support network. I supposed to go here, but I ain't gonna really go. And when I go and I just open Pandora box and he can get mad, and I will call for you. I would say, I have a friend who's so and so. You want me to come? I come.
I like that because far too often, even though, like you said, everything is a process, it might take time. You might call a person stupid, you might call a person this, that, and a third, but at the end of the day, knowing that they have your support, at the point when they're ready, when they say enough is enough,
they will be empowered.
Then
they'll know that support will be there.
Definitely. So now going back to where we started this conversation, in terms of that advice, in terms of that, trying to uplift, empower, enlighten the young population now, who is my age group and below, is teenagers just getting their first crack at love and thinking, oh my God, if I could go back to my teenage love, In fact, that preserved me throughout my adulthood, because it's so pure and it's so innocent. When you come across, unhealthy relationships or, unstable relationships, when you have that you could reflect on and say, I had this, it gives you hope to know that you can have it again. So for those up and coming relationships and people who are thinking about getting in relationship, what are some advice you would give them?
Well, I think it begins with parenting. It begins with having healthy relationships to exemplify. Like, for example, I came from a home that did not have that, and I ended up in relationships that were not healthy. I think that I would advise, like, the older people to clean up your act. Get it together. Your children are looking at you. The fathers, be supportive of your children. Be supportive of the children who you have gotten, or who are maybe you're not with their mothers anymore, but they're your children. Teach your sons how to be a gentleman. Teach your sons how to take care of a lady. I think it begins with the young ones. It begins there, and then as you come up the ranks now, for those who have already developed the bad habits, God has created every human being with a choice, and you could choose to know. When you're hurting somebody, and you could choose to behave differently. And for those girls, and it happens with guys too, so let's be gender correct. Some guys are being abused by girls. For whoever is being abused, you have to love yourself. And once you love yourself, then you would begin to seek out, how do I get protected? How do I get out of this situation? And when it's time for me to get back into another, what do I want to see? In those men hide who they really are until you're married. Okay? So that happens as well. But by talking to other women, talking to people who know the person, that kind of, don't be scared, not because it's a small place. Ask. Ask questions. Look at how they treat their mother. Look at how they treat their cousins. Do they have a good relationship in the family? You understand? So do your research. Just like how you would done your research if you're going to buy a car. Do your research when you're going to get involved with a man or a woman.
Definitely great advice, and don't be afraid to cut your losses. I would add
hallelujah
don't be afraid to cut your losses. At the end of the day, every relationship will require that transparency, that loyalty, and that communication, and for you to feel secure. And if that person is okay with you being you, if you find that you have to change everything about yourself, everything is always your fault, you is the reason why the relationship deteriorated, you is this, you is that, you is one thing to the third. How can a relationship with two people have one person at fault? You're in an abusive relationship, and you should, head for
my experience. My experience was that I used to say, you are worried about you, and I'm worried about you.
Selfishness.
Nowhere in this scenario does me come in. That's a problem. Because that's one side.
Definitely, and like she was saying, self-love, yes, I advocate for you to be not to be selfish in relationships, but at the same time your cup has to be full. If your cup is not full, there's no way you could give the type of love out that would be required to sustain a relationship. So while you're filling his cup, he should be filling your cup, and if his cup getting full and your cup getting empty, that's a parasite. He's sucking you
Yes.
or she is sucking you,
and that could be emotional.
That's not
necessarily financial
relationship.
Yeah, that can be emotional too, and not necessarily financial. Necessary assets. So like I could say, I call my husband name and ask him to bring me a towel in the bathroom, and he goes, "It's like, what?"
You didn't know you were going to bed? Well,
What?
Why were you telling man?
I was like, okay, something wrong with this picture.
But Tracey, it was definitely a pleasure having you on the program today. You brought up some really serious information, and we hope that our listening audience will really appreciate the content of today's show. They even got some information on how they could seek help if they're going through a situation.
Family support network.
Similar to this, family support network, gender affairs. And don't be afraid to seek counseling. Your final thoughts?
Yeah, so don't be afraid to seek counseling. Don't be afraid to say that I'm alone, because I know that you could be in a family that have hundreds of cousins and aunts and uncles and be alone. So you could be alone in your own thoughts. You could be alone in your mind. You could be alone because of how you perceive yourself. If you need assistance, it is not necessarily relationship issues, health issues, whatever the issues are. Don't be afraid to see a psychologist or a counselor. They're not there because you're crazy. They're there because they're guiding you to be mentally healthy.
And the final key to all of this is you need to be open and receptive. Open and receptive. You don't know everything, and other people have experienced the exact same thing that you're going through.
I know. I just have to join this. I know that everybody, we come from a spiritual community, so they say, put God first and all of that. But in order to put God first, to some degree, you have to invest in God and you have to have a relationship. And I always tell my children, it doesn't matter if your friends are not there. Once you have a relationship with Jesus, He's
Amen. Thank you guys for listening to Lyte Vibrations. You're here chilling with me, Tasha T, and our guest today, Tracey, where we came and we shared some really good information regarding relationships on that other end, the not so nice end that we don't talk about, and how to seek help. So once again, thank you for tuning in. And this is a station that tries to enlighten, empower, and educate. Right. Catch us next week, where we'll be back with words from the streets.
Goodbye. See you, baby eyes.
You've been listening to Lyte Vibrations, brought to you by Lyte Communications. Lyte Communications, your one-stop shop for all of your communications and marketing needs. From conception to completion, we offer the entire communications package. Choose Lyte for reach, results, and reliability. We have over 15 years experience, and we offer an array of services guaranteed to enhance your reach and increase your market presence. To showcase your business or organization on our program, contact Natasha Letzum at natasha@lytecommunications.com or via WhatsApp or telephone at 284-545-7355 to secure your package today. Community-minded individuals with knowledge in finance, health, business, relationships, spirituality, fitness, agriculture, healthy living, parenting, or any other topic that can enhance the lives of our community are also encouraged to contact Ms. Letzum to organize an interview. Thank you for tuning in to Lyte Vibration, and don't forget to tune in this time next week as we continue to bring you life-changing information. Until next time, shine your light.